Hello, today we're going to talk about an assignment that is in my one of my classes, Developmental Psych, and that is the Identity Status Assignment. And this is one of a number of what I call special assignments that are sort of meant to transcend beyond individual chapters within the course and to sort of combine a number of different concepts into one assignment. And so this specific assignment is actually ties together the work of three theorists and how those combine in developing a snapshot of your current identity status. Now, the three theorists that we're talking about, first and foremost, is Erikson, and we've been reading about Erikson. The second one is James Marcia and his identity status theory. And the third one, I'm going to throw myself in there because there's a theory that I'm working on called puzzle pieces that has to do with the development of what I term a relationship or intimacy related personality or identity. And we will be talking about that later in the class, probably a separate few videos on this channel as well. But for now, let's just look at what I'm asking you to do in this particular assignment is to, using these three models, is to write a paper about yourself and your history and your experiences and how they can be described using these theories. So under Erikson, of course, we're looking at this point the first four stages of which all of you have gone through. So the first stage being trust versus mistrust, the second stage, autonomy versus doubt, third stage, initiative versus guilt, and the fourth stage, industry versus inferiority. So in preparation for this assignment, you want to read up on Erikson's theory, and in particular, his first four stages. In terms of Marcia, James Marcia's identity status assignment, we're looking to apply that theory to a couple areas of your life. And if you review Marcia's theory, you recognize that it's made up of four statuses that any piece of your identity can be in based on whether you've experienced a crisis, and in this context, meaning the crisis is a looking at the options. It's not a dangerous or volatile mental health situation. Just using the word crisis to describe that you're looking at the options. And the other dynamic is commitment. And so achieved identity, for example, is I've looked at the options and I have selected one. Foreclosed identity is I didn't look at any other options, but I have a selected identity. Moratorium refers to haven't selected, haven't committed, but I'm actively looking. So I'm in crisis about this. And finally, diffused, I'm neither searching nor committing. This is back burner. No longer part of my identity, or it is not part of my identity at this time. So we'll be applying that theory. And finally, under my own, if I can even have the courage to put myself in the same family as these two people here, my theory is called puzzle pieces, and I examine identity as being made up of a number of different parts. And each one of those in my model is represented by the analogy of a jigsaw puzzle piece, and that we put those together in order to form a picture of what we are as our identity. Obviously, it's not just what it looks like, but all the other aspects of our identity. Now, specific to the origins of that theory and what I was looking for when I started having the thoughts about that theory, what I'm examining in this particular assignment is the notion of how we engage in relationships in life as adults are shaped by the specific models of relationships that we've experienced and learned in the past. So our family of origin, our first experiences with romantic relationships and all that, those shaped a template. We're not going to get into puzzle pieces right now, that will come up later, but I'm going to be asking a couple questions about that. So specific to this assignment, for each one of these, I'm going to be asking you to do something. First and foremost, telling me about your first 4 stages. So you're going to be describing situations that, to the best of your knowledge, represent how you navigated through these first 4 stages. The second one, in terms of applying identity status, Marcia's theory, I first want you to tell me about personal likes and dislikes. Now, what this means are hobbies, music, whatever, and what I want you to describe is how you went through the process of crisis and commitment. You were looking at the options and then you picked. There's another video on identity status, so probably good to look at that, to do some reading up on identity status. But say, for example, I was into photography, and for a while I wasn't, so it was a diffused part of my identity. It wasn't even my awareness. Then I became aware of photography. I moved over to moratorium because I was looking for, getting into that. Found the camera I wanted, the kind of photography that I wanted to do, that moved up into achieved. So there was a movement of my identity from diffused to moratorium and up to achieved. And then I stopped doing it. So it went back down to diffused again. And it wasn't until later in life that I rediscovered photography, started looking at it again, so that identity status moved again into moratorium, and then I committed again into a world of digital photography and digital video. So that piece of my identity changed over time. So I'm asking you to document some likes and dislikes that you have and how they came about through the process of this theory. The second thing I want you to look at is your vocational and school identity. I ask people what they want to be when they grow up. Why are you at KV? I've always wanted to be a nurse. And that person may actually, maybe that's true. And they can't remember a time that they didn't want to be a nurse. So in truth, we can identify that as a foreclosed identity. I never really looked at anything else. Other people have struggled with the process. Maybe they've come to college, changed their major. Maybe they've gone and worked some other place and now they're reestablishing themselves in a new career. All of that can be traced in Marcia's theory. And the final part of this assignment is, of course, relating to puzzle pieces. And I'm going to be asking you for information related to your models of relationships that you found in your family. In your early relationship, this is the first puppy love type relationships, very early in life, your first adolescent ones, maybe the awkward stage, maybe it was great, maybe it wasn't so great, and going into some detail about those. And then finally, your current relationships and understanding the dynamics of your current relationship and relating that to the theory of puzzle pieces. Now that pretty much does it. That's your paper. This is the paper as it stands. That what I just went over is basically the grading rubric. So you write out those components, title page, format it. You're the source, so there's no APA formatting except, in the title page, putting appropriate stuff there. So I hope you enjoy that assignment. And remember, if you want to see more of these videos, be sure that you subscribe. All right, take care. See you next time.